best in radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and a lot going on here in the world, to say the least, and things seldom turn out the way you expect. If you don't believe it, look at the price of gold right now, look at the price of the US dollar, look at what's going on in Europe, look at Bitcoin down to $343, and not too long ago it was reaching all-time highs at $1,200, and well, we've got Jason Hartman on with us now. You know him well, jasonhartman.com, and he's been right on the money in so many areas. Jason, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Kerry. Thank you. Good to talk to you again. And I'm telling you, folks, the gold bugs, the Bitcoin bugs, never underestimate the power of our fiat money dollar with the largest military in human history behind it. They will find a way to keep it artificially strong and to defy gravity for a long, long time. That's my humble opinion.
Well, they've been doing a great job at it so far. Just when you thought everything was going to blow apart, you know.
Yeah, I agree with all of the theories. I agree with all of the math when it comes to looking at the dollar. But the fact is that it's not just about math. There's a lot more to it than math. You know, so if you look at government spending and trade deficits and, you know, all of this stuff, you would be right. You would say, yeah, the dollar is going to collapse, and, you know, gold is going to be the thing, or Bitcoin is going to be the thing, or Kanye coin, or Dogecoin, or Litecoin. You know, Kanye West had a virtual currency. I guess he closed it, but you know, this is like hilarious, right? The fact is, the dollar, they can kick this can down the road for decades to come, if you ask me, decades to come. And, you know, there's an interesting book. I don't know if you caught this one, but it's called The Next 100 Years. It's by the founder of Stratfor, the intelligence organization. And I can't remember his name. I think it's George something or other. And it just talks about how American hegemony will be with us for a long, long time. It came out maybe 3-4 years ago, this book. And, you know, America basically controls, you know, every major waterway on Earth. You know, it's just this empire has such far reach. And, you know, I had Bill Bonner on my show, the founder of Agora Financial. And, you know, he writes several newsletters, including the Daily Reckoning, which is very popular. And, you know, we were talking about this, right? And we both agreed, Kerry, that the U.S. can kick this can down the road for a long time to come. You know, it's I wouldn't put a lot of stock in Bitcoin. I think gold is better than Bitcoin. They should both be better than the dollar, but they're not. And we'll see how it all turns out. But I'm kind of bullish on the good old dollar. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't want to be. I'd love to be wrong about this. I would really love to be wrong about this, especially about Bitcoin. But I don't think I'm going to be wrong. Anything that doesn't have the backing of the criminal central banking cartels and the government is just not likely to be the winner, in my opinion.
I know what you're saying, and I just don't think you can be swayed by short-term fluctuations, short-term gyrations, because this has all been done before here. It has. And, you know, maybe my bullishness on the dollar, you know, everybody in Rome was probably thinking the same thing in the days of the Roman Empire. You know, that's completely possible. But, you know, I hate to say it, Kerry, because the famous last words of an investor who's about to get his ass handed to him is, and here they are. You ready? This time it's different. It's different. It's always different, and yet it's always the same.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I've heard that, and I understand that. So I temper my comments with that. But the reason I think this time it is different is because in this interconnected world that we've never had before, and this world of technology and the kind of scale that technology gives to a large corporation, you know, the corporatocracy, they have this kind of scale, obviously, governments and military powers. I mean, there's just not even a close second when you look at the military power of the U.S. It's, I don't think it's right either. I just think we get to throw our weight around and, prop up the dollar and defy gravity. It shouldn't be this way. I will be the first to agree with the gold bugs and the Bitcoin bugs on that count. It should not be this way. It's not fair. It's not right, but it is. Anyway,
I don't deal in the issues of fairness. As a law school professor once said, fair is a sissy word. And
I love it.
The world doesn't work in terms of fairness, but, there is a limit, and the system, I believe, becomes less and less stable over time. And it's all a question of confidence, too. It's all confidence. And confidence erodes. You have an MF Global event. You have bail-ins. And right now, talking about the almighty dollar, King Dollar, it's the recipient of instability in Europe. And
exactly. It's a relative game. Yeah. Go ahead, Martin Armstrong.
Yeah, it's the best looking horse in the glue factory. And, Martin Armstrong says, and to a large extent, it's because of the depth of securities markets. If you're responsible for managing X billions of dollars for a multinational corporation in Asia or in Europe, are you going to put it in a Chinese bank? Are you going to put it in a European bank? Are you going to put it in Japanese debt or Chinese debt?
The flight is European? To America, the Brinks truck.
Yeah. Right.
The Brinks truck of the world. It still is. It still somehow maintains that reputation.
It's feeding it, but there is de-dollarization taking place. But right now there is no alternative to the dollar. So you can de-dollarize all you like, but until there's really an alternative, nobody's going to go there. And they can come up, the BRICS countries, with their own equivalent to the IMF. It isn't going to matter because nobody's going to trust it until they have to trust it, or they can't trust the U.S. any further. And, that's where we're at now.
Yeah, that is where we're at. And, one of the things I teach my investors is that economics is a relative game. And as such, say, for example, we do have this collapse of civilization scenario, the collapse of the dollar, whatever, right? Say we have this real doom and gloom scenario, and everyone gets a lot poorer. Well, okay. Then all that means is that you just need to be ahead of everybody else. If everybody's net worth we'll take the United States as an example, but it could be anywhere. If everybody's net worth, any, westernized country, modern country, okay, if everybody's net worth is $50, their entire net worth is $50, and your net worth is $100 or even $75, you're wealthy. Everything prices in relative terms. And so, when we talk about the dollar, it's just relative to all these other currencies. I mean, most other countries are badly mismanaged too, many of them much worse than the U.S. We love to pick on the U.S. Because, it's a big target, obviously, and because our government allows us to criticize it, well, at least for the moment, and that's another discussion. Yeah. But still we can have pretty good dissent. I mean, look at what we're doing now, right? We're picking on the U.S. And all of that considered, I mean, look, who's better off? Japan, Europe? I mean, Europe's a mess, if you ask me. The euro is just, I don't know. That's just such a complicated, weird system they've got over there that I don't know that that's going to last. Japan, Japan is way worse off than the U.S. China has a giant demographic problem coming at it, and it's got tons of, obviously, human rights and civil liberties problems. Look at what's going on in Hong Kong right now. Where else are you going to go? It's just, it's the old, and you alluded to it, it's the old TINA, T-I-N-A. There is no alternative. And that's, the dollar is the recipient of that luck and a lot of other beneficial things. So,
yeah, but latest survey, 74% of the country doesn't trust the government to be able to solve the problems that that you're having right now.
Yeah. Okay. So
74%.
So fine. So which government do they trust more?
They don't.
That's the question.
The whole problem here is the erosion of confidence in governments all over the world, and it's unraveling.
Rightly so. Government really is outmoded a bit too. I mean, technology is making government a lot less relevant than it's ever been before. I like to say, when I'm talking to my real estate investors, I like to say that geography is less meaningful than it's ever been in human history. And there are a lot of things that are less meaningful than they've ever been in human history. And I say the geography one because, every real estate person loves to quote the 3 cardinal rules of real estate: location, location, and location. And that is still true. I'm just saying it's less true than it's ever been. And why is it less true? Because of the work at home revolution, because of technology, because of all these things. Government is less relevant than it's ever been before in human history because people are interconnected throughout the world through technology. People can find ways to circumvent government much more easily than they ever could. And governments are really struggling with this. They want to control things, even so-called democracies like we supposedly have, or representative republic is what we really should have. Okay.
What we once were.
Yeah, what we once were, the old. Hey, listen, I'm a libertarian, okay? I agree with all the stuff you and all your guests talk about on the show. I'm just saying that I'm also a pragmatist. And so, the other things that are less relevant than they've ever been before are age. Age is less relevant than it's ever been before. I mean, 40 is the new 25, 60 is the new 40. I mean, things are really, really changing pretty quickly right under our nose. And it's not just that lifespan has gotten longer. And, recently it really hasn't gotten much longer in the past couple of decades, but health span has gotten a lot longer for people who take care of themselves. So age is less relevant than it's ever been before. The idea of, restarting your life is something that really just people didn't do decades ago like they do now. They start new careers, they start new marriages, they start different kinds of family formations. I mean, things are really, really changing a lot. And, I think this is great. I think that, one of the things I like to say is that I've identified several ways that the U.S. government can get out of the mess it's in. And the most likely way is that it'll inflate its way out. Inflation for a government and for an individual, if you follow the government's lead, and that's what I teach my income property investors to do, is just play the same game and align what you're doing with the government rather than trying to work against it and say, fiat money is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying just use that to game the system. Take advantage of what I call inflation-induced debt destruction and packaged commodities investing. And basically, those are some of the unique characteristics that income property offers. And so I don't know where I was going with that originally, but a lot of these things are less relevant than they've ever been. Government can't put the lid on a lot of this stuff. The cat is out of the bag. But when you look at something like money, or really we should say currency, currency is like the air we breathe. I mean, we don't hopefully notice the air, but it's there, we live in it, and we exist in it. And it's just such an overriding force. And the legal tender laws make it very difficult, if not impossible, for any alternative to really grab hold. And that's why I'm just not bullish on Bitcoin. I would love to be wrong about this. And I'm not bullish on gold either. I think it's okay, but I don't think it's the answer, if you will. I think it's, it's insurance. Everybody should own some. But I don't think it's the holy grail.
Well, let's talk about a couple of trends that are happening.
Sure.
One that I've identified through the help of Martin Armstrong, which is basically the abolition of paper currency and pretty much the trend towards electronic currency. Government wants to get rid of paper money. I mean, I think that's pretty clear cut. The trend is there.
I would agree with that.
Less than 10% of all transactions take place in currency. 40% of all people out there carry less than $50 in their pocket. 20% carry nothing. Okay. Yep. So
I use cash less and less than I used to,
Yeah, irrefutable. It's happening now.
Right.
Before
and
our very
Apple
eyes.
Pay is going to hasten that move.
Oh yeah, and look, Starbucks, their app. You go there, you buy something, and then you want to tip the barista. Usually, you leave $1 in the jar, and a couple $1,000 could go through a busy Starbucks in a day, and very little of that is accounted for to Uncle Sam. And now with the app, they're going to do away with those tip jars. So digital currencies, whether it's Bitcoin or the electronic dollar, let's face it, it's coming. And you see that the paper dollars that you get out of the ATM or wherever used to get crisp new bills. Now you get this beat up, crappy money that's falling apart before your very eyes.
Yeah.
And
no question.
It's all part of getting you to forego paper money. That's what it's all about.
And here's the thing. Look, the government loves this because they get to keep track of it. The NSA gets to spy on us. They get to know our buying habits and everything, which is disgusting and awful, and it shouldn't be that way. But the fact is, it is that way. And when we have a situation where we have a global fiat currency, and especially if it's electronic and trackable, that really is kind of checkmate for the central banking cartel, and the U.S. being its biggest customer, and China and Japan being number 2 and 3. So. Yeah, I mean that will mean potentially less freedom and the possibility for more oppression, because if they can just turn off our bank account and make us instantly poor or inflate our money away and know what we buy, that's dangerous. I don't like it.
So here's the point.
Yep.
So how do you get off the grid? Right?
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of choices, and in theory, at least, Bitcoin can be shut off. Can be turned off, and they haven't figured out how to do it yet, but let's presume that they can. So what does that leave you with? Are you going to use McDonald's gift cards to pay for transactions that you want off the grid? Is that what you're going to be left with? Or are you going to use the currency of kings that has been in use for 5,000 years? That's what it's going to come down to. I
don't know. I'm, like I said, I'm just not that bullish on gold, but
a good contrarian indicator, perhaps.
Hey, I'll tell you something. If things really get bad and the crap hits the fan, you know what you're going to want is food, water, bullets, and guns. That's going to be the currency. Okay. Yeah. Do with it what you will, but we will see. This debate has been raging on for thousands of years, and it's just interesting to watch. But what concerns me is that the central banks around the world manipulate the heck out of gold and silver prices, and just go to GATA.org, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, and you can learn all about that stuff. And I'm sure you've talked about that on your show.
Yeah, we know those guys well. Yep. And but the fact is, getting off the grid could be the best way as precious metals. I had never looked at it that way, but then Martin Armstrong pointed it out that might well be precious metals' ultimate use is freedom from the tyranny of the digital financial system that's got you locked in and into the ultimate servitude, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. And speaking of servitude, one of the other things we should probably touch on is the way our government, through Sally Mae, has created a generation of indentured servant debt slaves through the only loan debt that is not dischargeable in bankruptcy, meaning no one that, the people that borrow money this way never get a second chance. And that is student loan debt. I mean, think of the little conspiracy here. I mean, it's really just disgusting what they've done. So what they've done is the government has they've just thrown money at the I'm going to call it the university industrial complex, okay? Yeah. Like the military industrial complex. But this is the college or university industrial complex. And by backing these student loans, which is a terrible idea, why does the government government need to insure any loan, whether it be a real estate loan through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, or, I mean, not really insurance, but having a secondary market, okay, or having FHA or VA or any of this stuff. I mean, this is all well-intentioned stuff that just turned out to have all sorts of possibly unintended consequences that are negative. Okay, and so through housing, when the government insures, or creates secondary markets to take care of bad loans, basically, or poorly underwritten loans, what they do is they drive up the price of real estate. And there has been some talk about letting Fannie Mae go. Let's let Fannie Mae go out of business. And as a real estate guy, most people think I would hate that idea. I actually welcome that. And we did a presentation at one of our Meet the Masters events a couple of years ago. We have this annual event in Southern California, usually in Irvine, California, every year in January. And by the way, we're going to talk about some free tickets for that, which you twisted my arm again for your listeners. Listeners to Kerry's show should know that Kerry is like a great listener advocate. He always makes, I don't know if you do this to other people, but I know you always do it to me. You always make us give something away to your listeners. You're really good at that.
You got it.
Yeah. So that, you get some good perks on this show, listeners, to the Financial Survival Network. But, so they drive up the cost of housing, they drive up the cost of college. And if Fannie Mae went out of business, this presentation we did was called 6 Years, 6 Million New Renters. So there's always an equalizing factor out there, right? Because if loans are harder to get, and loans for real estate or college or whatever are more expensive, then people look at the alternative. And in real estate, there are really only three choices. You can buy, you can rent, or you can be homeless. And someone jokingly at one of my live seminars said, no, you can live with your parents. Well, true enough. Okay. Generation Y is known as the boomerang generation.
Yeah. Some prefer to be homeless to that, but
yeah. Well, that's fair enough. That's another discussion, but true. And so if Fannie Mae went out, there would be an adjustment period for maybe a year or two, but I'm telling you, the upward pressure on rents would be phenomenal. And our investors are cash flow investors. They don't invest for appreciation. That's the gambler's game. That's the speculator's game. Mm-hmm. We invest, one of my 10 commandments of successful investing is the property must make sense the day you buy it or you don't buy it. And so I mean, rents would probably skyrocket, if at least relative to prices they would. And that's a nominal and real dollar equation. It's that same discussion. And so I would love to see Fannie Mae go away. It would be an adjustment period. I agree. There'd be a couple of years for some probably ugly fallout, but ultimately I think that would be great for real estate. It would be great for investors. And if the government stopped insuring student loans and creating debt slaves, college prices would fall and colleges would have to become more efficient. I mean, Kerry, look at every industry. Every industry has created either better products or lower prices for the consumer through technology, except the university system. Mm. People are taking classes online nowadays, lessening the need for the real estate, the expensive real estate of these colleges, but the price has only gone up. I mean, this is insane. Why hasn't the price come down? Yeah.
Yeah, because they artificially inflate demand. And, you better tell us about the special offer for FSN listeners here before we run out.
Well, here's the Kerry Lutz twisted my arm offer, okay? If you go to jasonhartman.com/Lutz, Lutz, Kerry's last name, jasonhartman.com/Lutz, you can win. We're going to give away 6 tickets to our Meet the Masters event. And this event, we hold it every year. This is probably I don't know, our 15th or 16th Meet the Masters event. So we've been doing this for quite a while. It's a great event, 2.5 days in Southern California. It'll be in January. We don't have the exact date yet. We're just confirming our hotel scenario now. But it will probably be at the former Hyatt Regency Irvine, a very classy, beautiful hotel. We get a great deal on room rate. This is now called Hotel Irvine. It'll be in January sometime, so we'll get those dates published soon. And, this event, the full price of this event is usually going for, right before the event, about $1,200 a ticket, okay? And we do have early bird pricing, which is lower, but ultimately the event becomes a $1,200 event. And 6 free tickets for Kerry's listeners. Just enter to win at jasonhartman.com/Lutz, Lutz. And Hartman, it's JASONHARTMAN.com/Lutz, Lutz, and you can win tickets for that. And a lot of your listeners, Kerry, with the different promotions that we've done and freebies, have gotten some great stuff over the years that I've been on your show. So.
Yep. And on that note, so just go over to Financial Survival Network. Link will be in the show notes to this interview. And so it's jasonhartman.com/LUTZ. And we will talk to you again soon, Jason, and keep your eye on gold. I think it's bottomed. Charles Nenner thinks it's bottomed. He called the bottom at 1180. It hit 1183 intraday. And hey, the final chapter has yet to be written, Jason.
Of course it does. No question about it. And like I said before, with some of the stuff I'd said, I'd love to be wrong about it. Okay.
No doubt you will be.
I don't know about that. I think I'm going to be right, but I'd love to be wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'll be happy.
Well, we both had our share of wrong calls, but hey, the key is to get people to think critically, to get you to look at things differently, because we are in a new paradigm. It is a new economy. Things are not what they were in 2007. And on that note, Jason, you be well. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks, and happy investing, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.